I'm here today to talk about the decarbonization of the shipping industry. And like Darius, I will start by introducing the energy trilemma, and luckily you're all familiar with it now, as you've heard a speech about it just now. But when we talk about energy systems, we like to frame it in the energy trilemma, and we say that energy needs to be affordable, it needs to be sustainable, and it needs to be reliable or secure. And in Europe, for example, we've seen historically that the focus between the three corners of the energy trilemma has shifted. So, for example, in 2014-15, with the oil price downturn due to large volumes of shale oil from the US hitting the market, there was a large focus on cost cuts and affordability of energy, especially in Europe in the oil and gas industry. And then from the onsets of the Paris Agreement in 2015, and as the focus on costs slowed down a bit, the focus on sustainability increased in order to reach the targets as set out from the Paris Agreement. And then after the invasion of Ukraine in 2022, the EU has had tremendous focus on reliability of energy and security of the access of energy. And this trilemma is also accounting for the shipping industry and also the transitional fuels to be used in the shipping industry. Because sustainability has gained a lot of attention recently in this industry. For example, the EU ETS is planning on including the shipping industry in the carbon pricing schemes for all vessels above 5,000 gigatons from 2024. We also have the Fuel EU Maritime, which is emission intensity regulatory framework, which aims to reduce the emission intensity from the fuel combustion on ships in EU ports. And then globally, we of course have the IMO, which just recently upwards adjusted their targets, aiming for net zero in the shipping industry by around 2050. So zooming in on the Fuel EU Maritime, what you see here in the thick blue line is basically the emission intensity reduction targets from the regulatory framework. And what we see is that, for example, LNG is expected to be compliant with the framework until the year of 2040, at least as LNG is known by now. Of course, there's a lot of measures being done to decarbonize LNG as well. And then you have the biofuels, synthetic fuels, and also clean ammonia, which are expected to be compliant with the framework until 2050. So then it's natural maybe to look further into clean methanol and also clean ammonia, as these are fuels that are gaining a lot of attention and has gained a lot of attention recently. And what you see here is analysis that we in Rystad Energy most recently did, where we basically show the potential of uptake of these two different fuels in the new builds on order book going forward. And this is based both on the current order books, but it's also based on the willingness to pay and also how the different shipping segments are structured. So, for example, you see that Ro-Ro and bulk and container are the segments that are expected to have or be the early adopters within the industry. For example, for Ro-Ro, one of the reasons is that it's a quite small fleet. So if one new ammonia ship, for example, is on the order book in 2023, this has a large impact on the new build adoption rate for this segment, right? And then also, how much of the transportation cost is actually a part of the value of the end commodity for the end user. So for example, the Ro-Ro segment delivering cars, the transportation share of the cost of this commodity is quite small, meaning that they're less sensitive to incremental increases in costs of transportation. And this increased focus on sustainability within the shipping segment is also trickling down on the supply and the pipeline of supply of these clean fuels. So what we see here is basically the communicated projects on both clean methanol and clean ammonia globally. And as you see, it's a rapid growth in communicated projects in terms of capacity towards 2027, where we especially see that the US is taking a lead in both fuels, which is fueled by subsidies given from the IRA. But especially for clean methanol, we see that also European suppliers are joining the race or joining the pipeline towards 2027 with large producers in Denmark, Norway, Spain, and many other countries that are represented in the list here. And then lastly, I wanted to focus on the ports, because we all know that the ports are the entities that can enable new supply to meet new demand. And the example that I've chosen to show here to the left is a graph showing bunker fuel sales from the port of Rotterdam from 2010 to 2022. And as you see a decline in conventional fuels, the green line here is the increase of bunkering sales of LNG from 2016 to 2022. And from 2018 to 2021, which was the peak, the Port of Rotterdam saw an increase of 30 times the volume sold of LNG, really showcasing how ports are able to turn around and provide the energy that the consumer, here the ships, do demand. And I've also used Port of Rotterdam as an example for, as they are taking the lead, at least in Europe, for projects of new fuels. So they have a lot of existing and also ongoing planned projects for biomethanol, clean ammonia, and also other biofuels. So that was what I was planning to say.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.